Srimad Bhagavatam class of ISKCON Portland Temple. Today we'll be going over verse from Canto 1, Chapter 13, verse number 5. The chapter is titled Dhritarashtra uh, Leaves the Palace. But before getting started, I want to request the mercy and blessings of all the devotees, all previous acharyas, all assembled devotees right now. Kindly give your blessings. So I would like to start with Mangalacharan prayers. So Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuthapad Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. And since this is Srimad Bhagavatam class, I would also like to recite the invocation prayers for Srimad Bhagavatam before getting started. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Okay, now we'll start with the verse for today, which is 1.13.5, and I'll share my screen and then so that we can recite the verse a few times. So I'll recite it 3 times, and then devotees on the call could also recite it if they are okay with that. प्रत्युजग्मो प्रहर्षेण प्राणं तन्वा इवागतम् अभिसंगम्य विधिवत परिष्वङ्गाभिवादने प्रत्युजग्मो प्रहर्षेण प्राणं तन्वा इवागतम् अभिसंगम्य विधिवत परिष्वाङ्गाभिवादने प्रत्युजग्मो प्रहर्षेण प्राणं तन्वा इवागतम् अभिसंगम्य विधिवत परिष्वङ्गाभिवादने. Would any devotees like to chant?
Thanks, Mataji.
Yes,
प्रत्युज्जग्मुः प्रहर्षेण प्राणं तन्वा इवागतम् अभिसंगम्य विधिवत् परिष्वङ्गाभिवादने.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Anybody else?
I can try.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Pati Ujkama Ujaguma Praharshena Pranam Tanva Iva Agatam Abhisangamaya Vidivat Pariswanga Abhivadanaya. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Pratyajyugma Parshena Manam Tanva Nivagatam Abhisanganya Vidvat Parisangad Vadan Ai.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Mataji.
So I'll try to.
Sure.
Pratiyuchamu prahasena pranam tanva ivagatam abhi sankyama vidhivat paripanga bhivadana.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, so we'll move to synonyms after this. Prati, two words. Ujjagmu, went. Praharshena, with great delight. Pranam, life. Tanva, of the body. Eva, like. Agatam, returned. Abhisangamya, approaching. Vidhivat, in due form. Parishwanga, embracing. Abhivadane, by obeisances. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. With great delight, they all approached him as if life had returned to their bodies. They exchanged obeisances and welcomed each other with embraces. Purport. In the absence of consciousness, the limbs of the body remain inactive. But when consciousness returns, the limbs and senses become active, and existence itself becomes delightful. Vidur was so dear to the members of the Kaurav family that his long absence from the palace was comparable to inactivity. All of them were feeling acute separation from Vidur, and therefore his return to the palace was joyful for all. So it's a small purport, but there are a few points which are very important. This verse is flowing from the previous verse because it says, with great delight they all approached him. And who are these they that is being referred to? So let's just quickly read the previous verse and couple it's two verses together so that we know who the they refers to. So I'm going to read the translation of this one. When they saw Vidur return to the palace, all the inhabitants, Maharaj Yudhishthir, his younger brothers, Dhritarashtra, Satyaki, Sanjay, Kripacharya, Kunti, Gandhari, Draupadi, Subhadra, Uttara, Kripi, many other wives of the Kauravas, and other ladies with children, all hurried to him in great delight. It so appeared that they had regained their consciousness after a long period. So this is the list of people, which is basically everybody who was left after Mahabharat war, and they were in the palace. So everybody was greatly delighted when Vidurji came back to Hastinapur. So we can. There are many branches that we can take today's discussion in. Briefly, I would like to talk about Vidurji. I know in the previous classes, other devotees have talked about him. So briefly on that, and so that we know the context as to why these people were so happy to see him. And then we will talk about how come Vidur was so how come everyone was so happy to see Vidurji, or how come, what are the qualities of Vidurji which made him so dear to all these people, and how can we become dear to other devotees? So kind of a life lesson for us from from Vidurji's behavior, that he had exemplary behavior, and how can we imbibe some qualities of his and at least try to imbibe in our life. So firstly, a brief history about Vidurji for the context of this class. So he was a brother of Dhritarashtra and Pandu because they all had the same father, Vyasadeva. But his mother was a maid servant, so she was a Shudrani. So he was not king because of his mother not being from the Kshatriya family. So he was a extremely saintly person. Um, I can stop sharing here. So Vidur was a extremely saintly person in the entire family, and he would give the best advice to his brother Dhritarashtra, who was the king. He tried his best to give some sense to Dhritarashtra when he was with him, but Dhritarashtra, under the influence of his son Duryodhan, would not uh, comply by or uh, not do what Vidur was saying. Dhritarashtra was accomplice uh, to you know inflicting so many miseries on Pandavas. Uh, Duryodhan had devised very heinous plans of killing Pandavas by sending them to a Laksha Graha, which is a house made of black, and he had full intentions to uh, burn them in the fire. And Dhritarashtra knew about that. He could have stopped, but he didn't. Uh, so Vidurji came to the rescue and he alerted the Pandavas so that they could be saved. So Vidur, by his presence, he was a very saintly person, as we said, and he knew that Pandavas were on the good side, so he would try to help them and save them. And he could see that a lot of injustice was being done to the Pandavas, so he was their ally in that matter. So he was partial to them because he could see that Duryodhana and other Kaurav clan were not doing the right thing. So but before coming to this, I wanted to say Vidurji is an incarnation of Yamaraj, who is one of the 12 Mahajans. So, and due to some curse, he was born in this manner from a Shudrani, but that does not make him a Shudra. He was, in fact, a Vaishnava. He was transcendental to the normal varnas of Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. All his qualities, he was a devotee, so he had already transcended those even in this life. And when Draupadi, when he was kicked out of the kingdom, and we'll come to that like later, he was kicked out of the kingdom by Duryodhan uh, when whenever Vidurji just put his foot down that, when Draupadi was being disrobed, he couldn't tolerate that at all. So Duryodhan had kicked Vidurji out of the kingdom. Vidur took that as a blessing of the Lord, that now he was a minister, so everything is now left behind. And he took that as a blessing of Bhagwan, and he set out on a pilgrimage. And he spent many years on his pilgrimage. He met Uddhav, then Uddhavji guided him to meet the sage Maitreya, and there are Bhagavatam's third canto, and at many places, the conversations between Vidur and Maitreya have been recorded. So he got a lot of self-realization, lot of gyan from Maitreya Muni, and that's the purpose of going on a pilgrimage. It's not about just putting check boxes that I visited here, here, here. It is about going and searching out for great devotees who are living in the holy places and getting the knowledge from them. And so Vidurji used all those. He almost 30 years he was on a pilgrimage, and then when he came back, that's the scene that is being described in this verse, that Vidurji, after being kicked out, and then he went for a pilgrimage for about 30 years. And then now he is back to the kingdom. Uh, by this time, Mahabharat war is over. So many people have now left the planet. They have been killed. Uh, the Kuru dynasty and even the Yadu dynasty is gone. Lord Krishna has departed. So a lot has happened by the time Vidurji came back. And he did not come back with any intention of now becoming a minister again and getting back into the material entanglement. And so he didn't have any intentions like that. Vidurji came back for a single purpose. He wanted to be an instrument in delivering his brother. He knew that his brother Dhritarashtra, um, uh, he wanted to see like what he's doing and then give him the gyan that he should now uh, leave the palace and go. So Vidurji basically came back to deliver his brother Dhritarashtra. Uh, but the scene is that Vidurji has come back and everybody is delighted to see him as if life has come back to their bodies. So just imagine like this is a devotee has come back and everybody is delighted. So that says something about Vidurji's character, that he was such a person who was dear to everyone. Uh, so how can somebody become so dear to so many people? So he had a very great quality that he was a well-wisher of everyone. He was a well-wisher and he would extend himself, not just like think in his mind that I'm a well-wisher, but also do some actions uh, to support that. So he extended himself to the Pandavas. He extended himself to Draupadi, to Dhritarashtra, to Kunti. So we will just talk about these four characters. Uh, that uh, that their hearts were full of gratitude, and when such a person who is so dear to you, who has done so much for you selflessly, imagine that person leaves you and there is no return date when he left. They didn't even know that whether he'll come back or not. And then when he comes back, they were just so happy to have him back in their lives. Um, so that's what we should also aim to become. That when we first we try to touch people's lives in a positive manner, and we extend ourselves, we serve the devotees, become good friends of devotees. And there is a Chaitanya Charan Prabhu had once, he writes all these witty lines. So one of the witty lines he had mentioned that some people make other people happy wherever they go, and some people make other people happy whenever they go, means whenever they leave, people become happy. But we should try to be those people that when we meet some other person, the other person becomes happy to see us. And Vidurji is a great example. As we can see here, people not only were just like happy and smiling, like for example, when you go in a flight, the air hostess is always smiling and greeting you as if she is very happy to see you. That's not a reality. It's just her job. The smile is fake. She would probably never care what happens in your life. But the smiles that these people had on seeing Vidurji were real smiles. They were like just bursting with joy and happiness. Those were the real smiles that he brought to people's faces, and so that's what we should aim for. So how come Vidurji was so dear to so many people? So let's see. In case of Pandavas, as I already mentioned before, Vidurji had saved them from getting burnt alive in that palace made of lac. He had cleverly alerted the Pandavas when they were being sent to this palace that on a particular day, this house, there is a plan to set this house on fire. So they dug a tunnel and got out. And they also had their mother Kunti along with them. So and then these Pandavas went in the forest and lived. So Vidurji's presence helps literally save their lives. Then Pandavas went into the forest two times. One was this time when they escaped from the Lakshagriha, and then second time when they were defeated in the game of dice. So at that time, um, at that time, the Pandavas, also Draupadi, were to go into the forest, and even Kunti wanted to go along with them. But Vidurji said that now, he told Yudhishthir that now your mother has become very old, so it will not be good if she, accompanies you all to the forest. So why don't you leave her with me, and I'll take good care of her. So Vidurji and his wife, I think her name was Sulabha, which I read somewhere. So they both offered that they will take good care of Kunti Maharani. So Yudhishthir Maharaj had full faith, full confidence in Vidurji, and he agreed to leave his mother Kunti with Vidurji. So so then Vidur and Sulabha took very good care of Kunti Maharani, not only just physical needs but also emotional needs. Kunti Maharani was so disturbed that such such bad things had happened to her to her sons and daughter-in-law, and uh, when she was not only while they were here, but now she was also thinking like how much trouble they must be going through. Her sons and daughter-in-law must be going through because they are in the forest again for 13 years. So she was very disturbed, and they took very good care of Kunti Maharani. So Kunti Maharani is one of the characters. Her heart was full of gratitude for Vidurji for taking care of her, for extending himself to care for a Vaishnavi. So when Vidurji came back, Kunti's heart obviously was full of joy and full of gratitude on seeing him back. Similarly for Pandavas, they remembered everything that Vidurji had done for them. And then third character, so Pandavs, Kunti, Draupadi, obviously, Draupadi is again, part of the Pandav thing. So she was very happy to see Vidurji back. He is the one who totally opposed when she was being disrobed in the parliament. Bhishma Pitama was also silent because he had taken a vow to protect the throne, but Vidurji did not. So he totally opposed when it was happening. So Draupadi remembered that. And lastly, Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra was a half brother of Vidurji, and as we discussed, he was totally under the influence of his son Duryodhan, and had done many bad acts as a king. He could have stopped many things from happening, which he did not. He turned literally a blind eye. I mean, he was a blind person, but he turned a blind eye to all the things, actions that were happening taken by Duryodhan. And this Dhritarashtra, so Vidurji, the main purpose for him to come back was to take care of his brother, the Dhritarashtra. So when he came back, he had a very he spoke very harsh words to his brother Dhritarashtra because he saw that Dhritarashtra was still entangled in Maya. This man has lost all his children. Who firstly he took sides with his evil sons, and all the sons have been killed, and now he's living in the palace at the mercy of Yudhishthir, the very person whom he had tried to kill and done so many injustices. So Vidurji came back just to save Dhritarashtra from the clutches of Maya, to give him some gyan that now it's time for you to leave the palace and just go. He spoke very harsh words. He said, "You're living like a dog. You're eating things which are given by Bhima." And so, there were very harsh words which he said with the sole intention that it was for the ultimate good of Dhritarashtra, that now it was time for him to go, and Dhritarashtra finally took to Vidurji's advice, and he left the palace without telling anyone, and uh, and then he was finally he did the tapasya in the forest. Gandhari also went along with him, and after some practices, they his body was self-lit, and so yeah. So basically, Vidurji's role was very important in saving Dhritarashtra. I mean, he could have otherwise just died of old age without doing any of these actions, and that's what Vidurji, uh, he felt that as one of his last duties towards his family where he belonged, and he did that in a perfect manner. So Vidurji was a well-wisher of everyone. So that's his quality, and he was a well-wisher at all levels with all people at various levels, equals, seniors, juniors. Like he was very close to Bhishma Pitama. He was younger than him, so Bhishma Pitama could only share his heart with Vidurji. because yeah. So Vidurji was basically friend to all ages and everyone. So we should also try to see how we can imbibe some of those qualities. So it's basically about serving devotees. Vidurji was a devotee himself, and he knew the importance of Vaishnav Seva. That if you're trying to do your sadhana, along with that, you need to serve devotees as well. So that's what he was trying to do. Uh, he came out of his comfort zone many times, and not just whatever is happening, let that happen. Why should I get into the matter? No, whenever it was required, he put his foot down. He did everything that was needed to serve the devotees. So there are some examples from our shastra, from our scriptures, which we can talk about. Um, and I made some notes about. Um, One is about the examples, and also about some verses which are pertinent to this. So, how to become dear to devotees? One of the things is that we should speak sweet words, and words which are sweet and which are helpful to them, not just lip service of saying something sweet but not really meaning it. Something which is priyam and hitam for the person. So there is an austerity of speech which is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Anudvegam. It starts with that. But some components are satyam, it should be truth, it should be pleasing, and it should be beneficial to the other person. So that's an austerity of speech that we should try to aim for. And also, our scriptures strongly tell us to not do fault finding in Vaishnavas. So if we want to have good relationship, obviously, if you're just always trying to find faults in the other person, you cannot have a good relationship with them. So when we are living together in a society, or just imagine first living in a house with a small family, if you are always just finding faults with the other person, it's hard to have congenial, loving relationship in the family. So charity begins at home. We should try to have good relationships in the family, in and maybe in your extended family. Whenever you are living with somebody, uh, clashes will always happen. uh, it's hard to find the perfect person in your life, like whether at your spouse level or at your children level, or at your parents or in-laws level, that they always align with what you think. It may or may not happen. You might have a different way of thinking. They might have a totally different way of thinking, and they might have totally different expectations from you. But whenever any clash happens, try to tolerate. It's easier said than done. In the heat of the moment, it's very hard. But at least we should set our compass correctly. That we want to aim to become a good devotee, and that's what I tell myself. I mean, I'm far from it, but at least whenever situation brings that kind of, whenever I'm put in that situation, at least I know that I should be behaving in a manner which is aligned to being a, or at least trying to aspiring to become a devotee. I'm not a devotee at all, but at least aspiring to be a devotee. So at least my compass is set correctly, that I know that I should tolerate. If somebody is not behaving the way I want him or her to behave, at least I know that I should tolerate, and I succeed and I also fail sometimes. But at least again, whenever I fail, I pick myself back up and again try to, move forward. And by Krishna's mercy, by devotees' mercy, pray for their mercy that next time, whenever I'm put in a similar situation, I'm able to react in a much more positive manner. I'm able to tolerate, because tolerance is a quality of a devotee. If a devotee doesn't tolerate and is always doing fault finding, his sadhana will get affected. So we should, as aspiring devotees, we need to know that it's not just that uh, these things are bad for us, and we can continue to do our devotional practice and let this thing also, like both the tracks are happening, but they are in opposite directions. If we are trying to do good sadhana, because we have understood that we need to do sadhan bhakti, we need to do good sadhana, but at the same time, if we are not having good relationships with devotees, and doing fault finding and all those things, not tolerating others and things like that, then it is pulling us away from our sadhana. So we need to know that we are paying the price. If we don't behave nicely with devotees, it's not that it is free. We are paying the price because our enthusiasm in bhakti will go down. So we need to really protect our bhakti lata creeper. And one of the things is that we should try to have um, we should try to become tolerant towards other devotees. So in ISKCON, this big family created by Srila Prabhupada, we have devotees coming from all kinds of situations, backgrounds, uh, different countries, within a country, different states, different languages. I mean, all things which could be diversified, everything, all the possible types of diversities exist. And now we are put in the spot, and there are elements from everywhere, all kinds. So we should learn to cooperate with other devotees and tolerate if we don't like some of their qualities. So again, it's easier said than done. We have been living in this material world. We have been just programmed to uh, to behave in a certain manner, and we try to bring that same programming, same conditioning. When we try to bring it to the community of devotees, it's disastrous. So we should try to learn the things that Bhagwan is telling us through Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, like Bhagavad Gita's philosophy and life examples of Srimad Bhagavatam, that we should really try to tolerate and not tolerate in the sense that inside we are having the volcano, but it's just not coming out. Not like that, but really try to calm our mind and be able to live happily, coexist happily with people of all kinds. So for me, it's a big life lesson. I'm not saying that I'm doing this. I'm, but yeah, as I said, at least I know that this is where I want to be, so that I can protect my bhakti lata, and let it grow, not protect and also let it grow, because otherwise it will not happen. Um, we won't. That enthusiasm of bhakti goes away. That if I don't take care of that, so it's very important. There are some verses like in Nectar of Instruction, verse number 6, which tells us that we should not look at the dosha of a devotee. The We should not look at the external or internal, whatever faults a devotee may have. So there are verses given by our previous acharyas telling us how important it is to tolerate and to also not basically to not do fault finding. Um, there is one example from Chaitanya Charitamrita. There were two disciples of Srila Madhavendra Puri. One was Ramachandra Puri and another one was Ishwara Puri. And Ramachandra Puri was always doing fault finding. He did fault finding with his own guru, Madhavendra Puri. When Madhavendra Puri was, uh, uh, he was very old, and he was sad at one day, and Ramachandra Puri said, "Arey, you're a Brahmabhuta person, and Bhagavad Gita says Brahmabhuta Prasannatma. Why are you sad?" So he was even looking at for faults in his guru also. And after that, he also started looking for faults in Bhagwan, which is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, "Oh, you are a sannyasi and you're eating so much, eating so many sweets. Look, there are so many ants here. Means you must have eaten a lot of sweets." And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him the same level as his own spiritual master, and he reduced his food into half. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a sannyasi, and people would be so happy to offer him prasad. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just made his food into half, and people were so upset, and they really wanted this person to go away. Like, so when he left Puri, people were happy. So he was the opposite example of what we are reading today. Like Vidurji, when he came back, everybody became happy, and in this case of Ramachandra Puri, when he left, people became happy. So we should try to not be such a person that when you leave, other people become happy. And contrasting with the other disciple of Madhavendra Puri, which was Srila Ishwar Puri, he served his spiritual master in a very humble manner. Madhavendra Puri was so old, and he would pass stool and urine on the bed itself. And Ishwar Puri, with full humility, would clean the place and really serve his guru. He would read Krishna Katha to him uh, as towards his final days. So Madhavendra Puri was very happy with the service of Ishwara Puri, and see what happened. And Ishwara Puri became the spiritual master of Bhagwan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's very important that we should, not try to be like Ramachandra Puri, who was always just looking at faults of other people. And we should take this as a sadhana, tolerating others, because it's not easy. Our material programming will always come in the front, and it comes up for me like I have to, I'm at least trying. I'm not successful in that, but it always comes up. And then we have to really push it down. Just even tell the mind the voice in your mind to please stop it, and just stop and look at the positive side of the person, because always everybody has they always have something positive. So try to look at that and not at the negative side of their personality. So somebody if, has dirt on his body and is trying to clean himself, you should try to see that he's trying to clean away all the dirt, and not look at only the dirt part. So because we all are dirty, we all have this all these anarthas, all these bad qualities, and the impressions from all the bad things that we have done in this life, and also in the previous how many ever millions of lives. So we have this conditioning with us, and the only person we should try to work on is ourselves and not on others. So that's very important. These are like very practical and very common sense things that, but they become even more important when we apply them in the devotee circle. Because when you, if you do not behave nicely with a Vaishnava, you also incur Vaishnava aparadh. And Bhagwan doesn't like that. Bhagwan, because the other person could be a pure devotee, and even aspiring devotee, Bhagwan does not like if you are looking at faults in devotees. So this should be taken as a sadhana, because it's not something easy. Uh, so even if we don't like someone, we don't like their behavior, but if we keep tolerating them, eventually even their hearts will change. And I have experienced in my life, and that the other person also looks like that they have changed, or maybe it's just your own perspective about the other person which has changed. Ultimately, things become so much happier if you at least try to practice it on yourself. Even Srila Prabhupada, the last instruction that he left for all the people was that you will show how much you love me by your cooperation. So he insisted on that very much, that you all please cooperate. So because he knew he has created this worldwide society, people will be coming from all kinds of backgrounds. When you're living in a particular type of culture, you just assume some things as true, which may be totally opposite in the other culture. So all these people are now put into one society, so there will be clashes. So his instruction was that please cooperate with each other. So uh, so yeah, we should all cooperate and try to not do fault finding, and really feel happy when we meet the other devotee. Not like that air hostess smile, but really feel happy because this other person is also chanting Bhagwan's name. It is such a rare thing that to find devotees. If you see, there are so many billions of people, and uh, the percentage is so much less. So if a person is taking Harinam, he is very special. He's dear to devotee. He's dear to Bhagwan, and we should try to feel happy genuinely when we meet a devotee. And to do all this, we ourselves have to first work on our relationship with Bhagwan. because all these good qualities come when we realize who we are, and when we try to work on our relationship with Krishna. Because once we connect to him with a heart full of love and gratitude, then we are also able to see the other living entities, and look at, that we are one branch and the other person is also a branch connected to the same root, which is Bhagwan. And then we are able to to see things how they are. So basically, if we work on our relationship with Krishna, then these things will happen. Otherwise, if we are just trying to apply the material things here, the chances of success are much lesser. Once we work on our sambandha, our relationship with Krishna, then we'll realize, okay, I'm doing this because I want to please Krishna. Because Krishna asks us to become tolerant, to serve other Vaishnavas. So that's why I'm doing this. So basically, everything is to please Krishna. We know that if we behave in this manner, it will be pleasing to Krishna, and that's why I'm doing it. So living with a higher purpose in life, and that will be the best solution for everything. So we should work. The first thing, we should work on our relationship with Krishna. But now the thing is, Krishna is not in front of us. So it's a concept that we have, but uh, his representatives are here. So behaving with devotees nicely is kind of, you're working on your relationship with Krishna, but through your relationship with the other devotees. So um, basically, if you are able to make the other devotee happy, Krishna will become happy. So you have a live person in front of you with whom you can do this experiment, so to say. I mean, really try to make the other person happy, and because you can't see the reaction from Krishna that easily, because we are not fortunate enough. We can have darshan of Bhagwan, um, but at least we can have darshan of the devotees, right? So try to serve them and try to work such that it brings a genuine smile and their hearts are genuinely filled with love for you. So there was one example I heard in a class. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj and His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj were, I think, conducting some yatra together or something. But the point was that Maharaj said, uh, Radhanath Maharaj said, I'm a Jew, American Jew, and Sachinandan Maharaj has a German background, and our so his parents, his forefathers were in the were pro-Hitler, and Radhanath Maharaj's forefathers were troubled a lot through because there was Germans were trying to oppress all the Jews. So they have a khandani dushmani. What's the translation in English? They have enmity going in their forefathers. But now he said, with Krishna in the center, we are both dancing in kirtan, and nothing like that. All that enmity is like long gone, and because we have Krishna in the center, we are able to cooperate and really have a loving relationship with each other. So I really like that example when I heard it once. What else? Yeah, even one of the 64 limbs of bhakti mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu is like hugging a devotee, really feeling happy when you meet a devotee. So, and also like sadhu sangha, which is one of the most important 5 limbs of bhakti. Sadhu sangha is basically association of devotees. So it's very important that we uh, focus on sadhu sangha in associating with devotees in a nice manner. And when we have relationship with devotees, try to not have expectations, which is true with common sense thing in any relationship. If you want to have a good relationship, try to have as less expectations as possible, and try to give as much as you can, even if there is no reciprocation. Serve genuinely, and even if you don't get, there is a verse in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, 1.2.114, which is alabdveva vinashteva. So like if you don't get what you wanted, alabdhe, like lab means you wanted to get something but you did not get, or vinashteva, you had something and that got destroyed. still you should always continue your Hari Bhakti. So similarly in the relationship with devotees, if you don't get what you were wanting, so if you had some expectation but that was not met, or something bad happened, still you should not um, try to really have still good relationship with that devotee. So it's an austerity. It's not sometimes we just are unable to let go, but we should try to let go. And also we have examples from our Goswamis. Sanatan Goswami, he's famous, like his sadhana was perfect. Obviously he wrote so much literature. He was uh, blessed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just like Rupa Goswami. Both these brothers got the direct gyan from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when he was living in Rajadham, he was uh, kind, and he was a friend to all the Vrajvasis. They would come to him and talk to him about all the problems in their life, like my son is not getting married, or there is this problem in the house. And they knew that Baba, they would call him Baba, that he would solve their problems. So Sanatan Goswami had pakka sadhana. I mean, that was the prime thing that he was do. But he would also, at the same time, he would take care and he would listen to their problems. So they were they were behaving like a sadhu who not only, I mean, sadhu should definitely, the main thing is to take care of his sadhana, but they were also doing this lok kalyan, which is serving the devotees of the Vrajadham by listening to them. The Shad Goswami Ashtakam, it has Dhira Dhira Jana Priyo. So he was Priya, which means dear, to Dhira as well as Adhira. So to sober people and as well as not so sober people. So a sadhu is able to have this samadrashti, equal vision for people of all kinds. So that's how, when we are trying to reach out to people, again, Sanatan Goswami is up there, but at whatever small level we are trying to reach out to people, whenever we are doing any outreach programs or anything, or in general in our behavior when we are talking to people, try to become dear to them. And whenever, at least when you're trying to do some outreach program, people look at your behavior way more than the words that you are talking. I mean, that's true for anything, but especially here when we are representing ISKCON outside, people are judging you, and people, they're also judging ISKCON or whatever institution you represent by your behavior, and actions speak louder than words. So we should be very careful. For example, when we have Janmashtami or some festival at the temple where a lot of people come, and when they see that the devotees are cooperating and devotees are happy working with each other, that gives a way better impression about the institution, or about that people would want to join. If they see unhappy people, obviously nobody would want to come here, because we already have so many miseries in the material world. Why should we come here and again become miserable? But when you see genuinely happy devotees, it gives a way better impression about the organization. And also at your personal level, if you're happy and you're making the other person also feel valued, and looking at the positives in the other person, uh, you will have fruitful and meaningful relationships. So Vidurji was a person like that. He was a well-wisher, and he was ready to serve, like how he served Kunti Maharani for all the years when their sons were in exile. He did not treat her like a burden. Ki, oh my God, now I have to take care of her also. He himself came forward and offered that, and then he did his best to take care of her. So similarly, so Vidurji is an example. We should try to aim for, like, at least, set our compass in that direction. That's what I'm telling myself. Like, let me set my compass to become a devotee, or some ansha of such devotees who are able to be dear to everyone, um, and really develop those qualities. And I think it starts, firstly, it starts with our speech. Even the nectar of instruction, verse number 1 is Vacho Vegam. So like really need to control the tongue. Whatever we are speaking, our speech should be very pleasing to the other person. And again, not like like the air hostess smile or a speech which is just like words, but really feel it in our hearts, because that's when the other person also gets. Uh, People are smart; they can make out whether you are just saying the words or you mean it, because associated your body language, your actions will also be appropriate to that. So try to become a good person. Becoming a good person is something which is stressed so much in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagwan asks us to become compassionate, to become tolerant. Just the other day, we were at Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day this week on Thursday. Many devotees, Narottam Vilas Prabhu was also, and Madhavi Mataji were talking about, qualities of devotees. And so those are, the standards that we should try to go for. Maybe pick up a few, especially the ones where you feel you're lacking, and try to become a sadhu, try to become a devotee. We are all, at least I am an aspiring devotee, but at least I know that, this is the direction I need to go in. I know my shortcomings. um, See the mirror, you can totally see that. If you're honest to yourself, you can see that you have all these shortcomings. These are the situations which trigger you, which where you fail. And see what are the examples set for us in our shastra. And think about Vidurji as one of the examples, like how he became dear to everyone. And then we can also try to uh, become dear to everyone like Vidurji. And those enumerated qualities which are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, those can be the pointers. We can make some homework for ourselves. Okay, I'll work on this quality. This is the quality of a sadhu which I want to imbibe in my life. So that's what I'm trying to do. I might be failing. You all devotees who are on the call might have had some experiences where you can see that I'm failing. Please require your blessings. I really, really pray for the blessings from everyone, and please forgive me for if I have, caused any pain to anyone or anything. But I'm, yeah, trying to become a good devotee. So thank you so much, all the Vaishnavas on this call. Thank you very much. And if there's, yeah, that's it from my side. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for the very uplifting lecture on devotee appreciation and trying to be a genuine devotee through the example of Vidur. So very nice. Would our devotees having questions, comments, reflections, additions? Please speak up.
Thank you very much, Mataji. I really enjoy your lectures. So today I had a conflict in my mind. Should I watch World Cup cricket match or should I come to this? Right. So then I'm very glad that I actually made a right decision. Every time your lectures are like, it's like very wise mother speaking to children, right? And coming from heart. I really, really, really appreciate it. And yeah. So and I have a question, Mataji. At least when I look at introspect my own behavior, I feel that I'm kind of slightly different person in work setting compared to my non-work setting, right? In work setting, and then I wonder why is it that? I mean, in work setting, of course I'm a my job, my role is a manager. So work setting, I'm slightly aggressive, okay, slightly different person, right? And then and of course in other settings I'm not like that, right? And also dealing with my children or whatever, I'm slightly impatient. But in other ways, I'm not that, right? I'm thinking, I mean, why is it so much difference? And how can I ensure that I can be the same person everywhere? And is it the right thing to do or not? Do you have any?
There are some very wise people on the call. Maybe I'll defer to them. I'll say maybe that's how we all, I mean, we have two personalities many times. One, as you said, in front of work people or outside people, where we are very nice, but then we have our guards up at that time, that because we know if we don't behave properly, there will be some repercussions. You might get a bad 360-degree feedback, whether if you're behaving badly with your juniors, subordinates, or with your manager. So it will affect your job as well. So we have that calculation in our mind, which prompts us to behave in a certain calculated manner with the people outside world. But when we are with our family, we are more relaxed, and many times we take people for granted. I mean, we should not. We should value our family members a lot, who are also tolerating us. I mean, we are tolerating them, but they are also tolerating us. Sometimes I really feel sorry for my husband. Poor guy has to tolerate me so much. Uh, and so we should try to be really nice with the family. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question correctly, Prabhuji. And maybe Jai Sachin Prabhu, if you can, Balnitai Prabhu, Narottam Vilas Prabhu, who are on the call, if you want to share something here, which is more pertinent to Radhakanta Prabhu's query. But all I can say is we should try to become a good person, especially with people, inside our family, because they will help you in your devotional service. If we have nice and cordial relationships in our family, within our family members, it will help our sadhana. So maybe you can have that kind of motive also in your. Sorry, I'm myself not very satisfied with my answer. So devotees, could you please chime in and also share something?
Narottam Vilas Prabhu or Balnitai Prabhu, you're both very wonderful devotees. Would you like to add to what Mataji is saying or her request?
You go ahead, Prabhuji. If there's anything to add after, I may, but right now I would have to contemplate a bit more.
Yeah, I think Narottam Vilas Prabhu, anything you want to add?
No, boys, I second with Bhagavatam.
Well, I think Radhakanta Prabhu, I think, to paraphrase, it sounded like you weren't satisfied with your behavior either in the professional aspect or in the personal life aspect, because you said at work you can be in your position of a manager, you're forced to, I guess, correct or administer, and that at home you find you can be kind of harsh with, for example, I think you mentioned your children. Is that correct? Is that what I heard?
Yes, Prabhu.
Sounds like you're very harsh with yourself, neither happy at work or happy at home. Well,
No, I'm not. It's not that I'm saying happy or unhappy. I'm just saying that when I look at myself, it's like different. Why am I doing this? Like, why am I being a little more aggressive with the people at work to perhaps to correct the mistakes or whatever? Whereas I see that other people are doing the same thing, maybe with little less aggression, right? Maybe in other spaces where I'm saying, okay, I should have been a little more aggressive. Why I'm not aggressive, right? So it's like very kind of confused. Why is it happening to me? To Mataji's point, like, is it a split personality kind of thing, or is it way it's supposed to be? Or, that's where I'm coming from.
I think one nature of devotees is that devotees tend to be introspective. After reading Shastra, and if you absorb Shastra as a living literature, I think you, like Mataji continuously was mentioning, she's seeing her own faults. A lot of people in this world are oblivious, from what I've seen, to their impact on others, both professionally or personally. So I think that's a quality of the devotee, to be internal in that way and seeing one's own shortcomings. I think at work, I also oversee, some people, and I think a couple of things that I've heard from senior devotees is try to not to see yourself as a supreme controller, and try to see the presence of Krishna in others, and that obviously comes from how connected you are to Krishna and his devotees. I really like what Vaisheshika Prabhu one time gave an example when I was down there for a book distribution seminar long ago. And he said, just like animals are sensate, they can detect your intention, like a dog, when you come up to the dog with bad intentions towards a dog or its owner, will react. And if you have favorable intentions, the dog will react differently. He said, just like that, human beings also can sense that, even in like book distribution, that you really have their genuine interest at heart. You're not just trying to, take off a point for giving another Bhagavad Gita or selling another Bhagavad Gita. So I think seeing the presence of Krishna within them, meditating on Mahaprabhu's instruction, Trinadapi Sunichana, is supremely helpful in my example. I meet lots of patients that are very angry, grief-stricken, etc. And so you have to come out of your own internal mood and appreciate what they're going through and understand that they're also sending you a message from Krishna himself about some, things that one may need to fix in one's own heart. And so I think that's the most important thing. Try to be a follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood of compassion, even to those that seemingly don't want that. And number two, I think for home life, I think, there's a reason we have the association we have at home, right? Krishna is giving us that association based on our, nature. And so I think Braj Kishore Prabhu and I used to talk about this quite a bit, that familiarity breeds contempt. And so trying to resist that and understanding that they're also there to give us some messages, and as much as pained as we may be to hear some criticism, maybe I should say, okay, there's some things I can learn from this. So, not looking at it in a negative way, but having a positive sense of, how I can, serve those that are very close to me. People look for association outside their home, but actually the most common association is within your own home. And it could come from, people that you least suspect, like your kids, your wife, your mother-in-law, your own parents, So I think just keep working on it. You're a very nice devotee. I'm sure that you're being overly critical of yourself, but I think it's nice that you're introspective and understanding your nature. There's not one generic solution, I think, for both approaches, but I think always following, the basic principles of bhakti are very nice. You'll see that in this chapter where, Yudhishthira Maharaj is hinting at something happening in the future when he's saying that, by our speech, we don't say things that hurt people. For example, Vidur was harsh, as we will come to with Dhritarashtra. But when it came time to tell the Pandavas about Krishna's departure, he did not speak anything because he knew that would pain them tremendously. So, having that kind of, like Mataji was saying, that our general reaction is to react rather than, contemplate. So I think you have to be careful about that. We have to be careful about that. Something that I heard Radhika Raman Prabhu say at our GBC Temple President meeting was that there are two types of people. One is it's a generalization, that there's indifference, that I don't care, and there's detached caring. And he was trying to say, the difference between indifference and detached caring. Indifference is literally, it doesn't matter to me what happens. Detached caring is that I care, but I don't have a personal agenda about, about the outcome. And I've heard that from, a lot of senior gurus about detached caring being so important. in our lives. So try to view it, at personal home as not being the supreme controller and caring for them without a self agenda. Anyways, I spoke as usual way too long. But Bhagavatam Prabhu, Narottam Das Prabhu, I think you both promised that you would say something. So back to you guys.
Hare Krishna. I don't know that I promised, but
Sorry.
I did have some reflection, and like I appreciate both Mataji what you said and Dasi Prabhu what you said, and I think Radhakanta Prabhu, some of the things that popped in my head. I can't remember I think I heard it in a lecture a long time ago, and I'm going to paraphrase. So, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had said at one point about humility, and that we don't show as devotees, we don't show our humility out to the general public in the same way that we would to the devotees, because they'll take advantage. So in your role as and then on top of that, as we have different we deal with different, I want to say deal with people in different ways, but according to our role, we deal with our peers, our seniors, our juniors in different ways. So as a manager at work, you have to be in a certain role where you're telling others what they need to do, and you have various things in mind: the company, a budget, a time frame, all these different factors. And then on top of it, you have your false ego, thinking that I'm the controller, or I'm the person who's telling these people what to do. And then you also have, well, I know Krishna is the controller, and so there's these different things going through your mind, especially in the process of chanting, and we're cleaning our heart, and we're re-identifying ourselves with the body, and trying to understand where the spirit, soul, and who we are in our relationship with Krishna. There's a lot of things going on in our consciousness, things that are getting cleaned. And what I've been told is, when we start cleaning the heart, that dust that gets kicked up, the analogy is like when you're cleaning a house that's very filthy, and you start wiping things down, dust starts flying in the air, right? So all of this gunk that's in our heart from so much from time immemorial is getting churned as we're chanting and we're engaging in the process of sadhana bhakti. So it sometimes comes, sometimes like we some behaviors that we don't find as favorable come out during this time. So there's, like Jai Sachinananda Prabhu said, some introspection. So I don't know that that having a different perspective or a different way that you deal with people in different in different situations is necessarily like a bad thing or a wrong thing. Because if you take for consideration, if you take like our acharyas, they tell us that, according to the level of faith a devotee has, Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttama Adhikari, we're going to reciprocate with them in 3 different ways. So, and then there's also the non-devotee that will reciprocate in a different way. So it's not that we have to act the same for in all of our situations. Maybe not the same, but we don't give the same. We don't reciprocate with people in the exact same way. But the underlying motivation or consciousness is that we're a servant of Krishna, and however we act with them is how we however we need to, I'm not sure I'm articulating what I'm trying to say properly, but the way that we act with work and with the devotees and with our family, I think that it may change and it will change, and but being introspective in how we deal with each individual and our motivation behind it is something that I think as devotees, like basically this whole class has been like, how and why are we interacting in the way we are, and if we find false ego in that action, then we can by introspection and association, we can begin to notice that, or and fine tune that accordingly. I hope that made sense. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, it did. I think both you, Mataji, and Jai Sashanand Prabhu had given a lot of material for me. I've just made a quick notes. I think it's a lot to actually think through. But I think, yeah, absolutely. So I think the detached care aspect of it, and say, thinking that the false ego, as you said, rightly said, false ego coming up, you know what, I'm the controller, you know, I'm trying to tell them what they need to do and then correct them and things like that, thinking that it's me, not so much Krishna's direction, or I'm doing it, I'm seeing Krishna in other people. Like, so I think that helps at least. As I think through more, perhaps I'll get more answers. But at the moment, the detached care aspect of it, thinking that you are not the controller, it's essentially Krishna is trying to teach you perhaps certain things in this interaction, and then ensuring that whenever a false ego comes up, right, you're just being conscious of it. Yeah.
Very nice discussion. And other devotees have questions, comments, reflections? The verse that Mataji spoke about and the content of the class today.
Thank you so much for amazing class, Mataji, describing glories of Vidura and talking about tolerance and humility, Mataji. Thank you so much. Wonderful class, as always.
Okay, then I think we can end, Mataji.
Prabhuji, yeah.
There is going to be a devotee